Hello, everyone. This is Unfound Live for what is today? March 18th, 2024. I hope everybody is doing well out there. Of course, this is the day after St. Patrick's Day. I hope all of you behaved yourselves or not. I have a fantastic show planned for you tonight. If I could just get this microphone in the right position here. That is, I know I'm kind of bumping around here. But fantastic show tonight. Of course, as you saw in the title for this video tonight, going to be talking about this curious disappearance of Riley Strain. In fact, there are even new developments that just happened today. I want to get to the story that I didn't get to last week about this woman found alive in a shipping container. And I want to get to it. I want to talk about the Jennifer Dulos murder and some of the fallout from that, being that Michelle Troconis was convicted here recently. Just looking at it from a missing persons point of view, because Jennifer is still missing, even though everybody believes she's dead. And unfortunately, I think that unfortunately makes a lot of sense that she is no longer with us. And I got a bunch of other stuff that I hope to cover in the next 2 hours, roughly 1 hour and 58 minutes. So I'm very excited about it. As I always state when we are getting started here, and I try to mention it several times throughout every live show, please give this a video a thumbs up. Please give this show a thumbs up as you are watching tonight, or if you're even watching in the replay somehow on YouTube, or if you're watching 5 years down the road, still give this video a thumbs up. Please subscribe. If you're not yet a subscriber to this channel, we just recently went over 17,000 subscribers, which I know is not a lot compared to some other true crime channels out there, but we have to remember that Unfound is primarily an audio program. So anything we can do on the video side is just gravy, I guess you might say, kind of. But still, 17,000 subscribers. You should be one of those subscribers, so hit the subscribe button. For all of you there on Facebook watching, I know we don't have as many watchers on Facebook for this show. Still do what you can. I hope you will comment tonight. And just remember one thing about any Facebook users, that I cannot see your name. So please, maybe if you state something, please make sure I know who you are, because I'd like to, of course, recognize you. You can support the content we provide here at Unfound by going to Patreon. Of course, we have support there. We have support through PayPal. And we also have support right here on YouTube with everybody who has hit the join button below. Those people who support Unfound on a monthly basis makes all the content possible. And of course, I thank all of the advertisers that come to Unfound through my association with Spotify and Megaphone. So as you can see, for everybody watching right now, of course, if you're listening, you can't tell. But if you're watching, you can see I'm still in Pennsylvania, even though the background is all blurred out. I still am in Pennsylvania, probably going to be here for at least another week. Going to be here until my dad gets his car back. I think I talked about that last week. That he had a little fender bender. It was a little fender bender, but the bill is not going to be little, but he has insurance. So, so it's just deductible and all of that. And it's an accident, I think, that could have been way worse if, of course, I was not there. But I was not in the car when it happened. But very easily could have been a lot worse than it was. And in fact, he could drive away from the scene. The other person could drive away from the scene. So he's without a car. Luckily, I drove up here coincidentally. And so we have a car. I guess we could have rented one. That would have gone then on the insurance company's bill. But my dad has been driving my car and he likes it. He has a SUV, Hyundai SUV that, like I said, is getting worked on right now. And here's one thing I found out. Everybody out there, don't wreck your cars. Getting parts for cars is very difficult right now because it's been 2 weeks, not quite 2 weeks since that happened. And his car's not going to be finished until like the 27th or something. So like a week and a half from now. So I would avoid getting in any accidents. Be careful out there, folks. But he's driving my car and he's liking it. I have a Sonata. It's not an SUV, kind of sit lower. And him being 87, maybe has a little more trouble getting in and out of it. But he really thinks it's a nice car, even though it has over 100,000 miles on it now. What was funny was it last Friday, he and we took a long trip. We went up almost to Meadville, PA, and then turned around, came back, got something to eat. And the engine light came on in my car on the way back. And I thought, oh, no. But nothing seemed to be wrong with it. So we pulled in. All I did was unhook the battery, hooked it back up, and the engine light hasn't come on again. So maybe it's my car just kind of in a way telling me that it doesn't like this cold weather very much. And you should know, on top of that, when I got here in that first couple cold nights, one of the tires of my car went down in air for some reason. And I put air back in. It hasn't gone down since. So I think my car is maybe just throwing a little bit of a tantrum or something, as cars will do, I guess, sometimes. But I did get my oil changed when I was up here. I was due, especially after driving 1,000 miles to get up here. But so we've just been driving my car around every day, and then my dad just takes the keys and he goes out and does what he does. Also, maybe some of you kind of know that he had to go for some tests last week, and he got his results. Nothing really, in my opinion. I mean, he's 87 years old. What are you going to do? Does not have cancer or anything. They went and checked his midsection, and they put him under and put the scope down there, and his pancreas is great. His liver's great. He's 87 years old. I hope to live that long and be in that kind of condition. So, but he's 87, has some hip problems and things, but he can go into Walmart, do his own shopping, and he does crossword puzzles. Mine is still, I think, pretty sharp. So, but it was, going to hospitals isn't fun. All of you know that. And being there, I was in the part of the hospital where, as I think all of you know, that pancreatic cancer is, of course, one of the worst ones that you can be diagnosed with. In fact, it seems to me that, depending, of course, that, even brain cancer, of course, depending, many times is less lethal than pancreatic cancer is. Well, that's the part of the hospital. That's all they do is they go down there and kind of check that section of the body. And like I said, my dad, no issues at all. None, zero. Well, my dad was still kind of knocked out and he's still coming out of the anesthesia. I got to talk to the doctor. She just said, no, just really seems fine for the most part. So he might live another 15 years or something. But I was in there and I was getting some Unfound work done in there. That was last Wednesday. And, I'm just sitting there knowing that this is the place where a lot of people find out a lot of bad news. And seeing other people go in there, and I mean people who are a lot younger than my dad sitting there to wait to go in. Who knows why they're in there for whatever reason. It's just very sad. It's very, very sad. So that my father is 87 years old, can go in there and get just about, almost, not quite a clean bill of health. He has some weird cells and everything, but just looking at the results really doesn't seem like that big of a deal, but no cancer tumors or masses or anything like that. Zero. So for him to come out at 87 like that, I just realized there are a lot of younger people than him who go in there and then get bad news. So, there you go. But that was really on my mind as I was sitting there in that waiting room, 3 hours or something like that. We had to get up at like 4:45 in the morning. We were down there at like 6 in the morning and everything. So there you go. We got out of there and picked him up and came home, and we both once we got him back last Wednesday, we both went back to bed, which we both, of course, deserved. So my dad's doing good. I look over his computer, his finances, and everything, and everything is he prints. I gotta say, my dad at his age really, really runs a pretty tight ship. Pretty much, totally true. Pretty tight ship regarding how he takes care of things. So, but he had called and said he wanted me to come up earlier than I had planned. So I was here, and maybe that worked out given that of this fender bender that he had. And then this visit to the hospital kind of came up, and here I could be to drive him down there and back. So maybe just that was the way it was worked out. But seriously, if his car hadn't got wrecked or anything, probably I already would have been going back to Florida by this time. So, but I will be here, and I guess until next Wednesday or something. So there you go. Time's flying. So other than that, just hanging out, watching a lot of Jeopardy with my dad, Wheel of Fortune, watching a lot of Seinfeld. And I've already scheduled on Wednesday evening, going to see my buddy Brad, who lives here, still, in the Leechburg area. My former roommate, going way back to the Las Vegas days. And so we're going to get together, I think, on Wednesday evening. And really probably would have seen my sister, Charles, who's in the chat. I probably would have seen her by now, but she's on a European vacation. So maybe I will get to see her. I think I'll still be here by the time, she gets back. So maybe we can meet up. And maybe I'll see my brother Michael again before I go back to Florida. So that's what's been going on. Just trying to get as much Unfound work done as possible. Just not as efficient is the word I use when I'm here in Pennsylvania. Just not quite as efficient. So let's see who is in the chat. And then we're just going to jump in because, like I said, I got especially a lot of non-Unfound stuff to cover tonight. Lori, what's going on? Good to see you. Everything 2023, what's going on? There's Charles. Yeah, Charles, Charlie, do you know when your mother's supposed to be back? Manuel tells me, this is very interesting to me. He actually worked with Ben Padilla going way back to 2016. Disappearance we covered. Manuel is saying that he worked with Ben Padilla there in Miami. And as you can see, I've asked Manuel to email me personally. I would love to hear more about the personal interaction with Ben. That's like the forgotten jet that went missing back in Angola in 2003. Very interesting. Manuel, thank you for telling me about that. There you go. Kathy, Charlotte, Jasmine, Glenn. Hello, Glenn. Facebook user. Hello, how are you? Suzanne. Stephanie, finally able to tune into the whole live show. Thank you, Stephanie, for tuning in, making time. Joanne from New Hampshire. Good to see you. Hazel. Martin, what's going on? There's Marty. Martin and Marty, what are the odds? Good to see you, Marty. And Kentucky. Hello, Cherie, tonight. Moderator Cherie. Of course, all of you got to know Cherie last Monday when the last team episode came out. I hope you all enjoyed getting to know Cherie a little bit. Charlie, what's going on? Going to be a great live show. Yeah, the low tire air light goes on. It does, Marty. So I've seen. So good to see you've been found at after your disappearance last week. That's funny. I'm not sure what that means, Hazel, but it's funny. Oh yeah, my disability. Oh, I got it, Hazel, from Dr. Teleska show. Of course. A lot of people like that. I think there may be a couple too many people out there who actually enjoy the thought of me going missing. So there you go. Thank you, Marty. And Marty's saying his grandmother just turned 96. My dad could certainly make it to 96. Certainly. Certainly. Thank you, Hazel. Thank you. Thank you. My dad's Mana is a young 85. She has a barrel of health issues, but is still going. Yeah, my dad does not have a barrel of health issues for sure. Charlie's saying gets back on the 24th, so we might be able to make that happen then, Charlie, with your mother, my sister. So hello, Lisa. Hello, everyone. Thank you all for tuning in. You know what I'm going to start with tonight? I want to start with the funeral. This is Unfound News. The funeral of Marianne Chapman. And what I'm going to do is read. Assistant Carrie was there. Of course, she was the first team episode, now going back a month now. But Carrie went to the funeral services that they had, the funeral service they had for Marianne Chapman. To remind all of you, she is the mother of Angie Arnell, a woman who went missing quite a few years ago, like 20 years ago now. And Marianne was the guest. Her mother was the guest. This is going back to, I guess, 2017, maybe 2018. And Marianne, unfortunately, passed away. She, although I never met her in person, I got to know her, of course, over the years. I had not talked to her in a while, but she was a force of nature. And as I stated when I found out that she died on that live show, is that she never stopped looking for her daughter, that she was known to just randomly go out with a shovel and walk through the woods looking for her daughter. Can't imagine it. But a lot of people in the missing persons community, now you should know this is in the Missouri area of the United States. But Carrie got to go, and I'm just going to read what Carrie wrote. She posted this in the discussion group, and in fact, it's featured there. I saved it. It's pinned there for anybody who wants to read it for themselves. But I'm going to read it right here. This is what Carrie wrote after she went to the funeral service. Let me set the scene for you. It was a beautiful, sunny, early afternoon. A very small breeze brushed over the rolling hills, green grass, and ponds. The event center overlooked. The parking lot filled with friends and families' vehicles. Everyone came to celebrate a brave woman that left an indelible mark on every soul she met. This lady was Marianne Chapman Asher. She was a tiny thing, but she had a personality larger than life. Through every heartache and challenge she faced, she did so with a warrior strength. From the tragedy of her missing daughter, she took that fear and bent it to her will. From that, she joined a news writer, as well as another mom of a missing daughter, and co-founded Missouri Missing, an organization that far exceeded anyone's imagination. If Missouri Missing wasn't enough, she also volunteered for the Restorative Justice Program. This is a program run by the Missouri Department of Corrections, one that offenders attend as victims, and families of the victims speak and describe the trauma they have dealt with, and hope the offenders will never reoffend again. Marianne dedicated her life to helping others. As everyone celebrated her today, there wasn't a dry eye in the house. Family after family spoke of her strength and resilience, her passion and dedication, and her drive to help others through the pain and confusion of a lost loved one. I wish I could describe every little detail. I was so honored to call her a friend. I trust that every person she ever met would say the same. I truly hope in her passing, she got the comfort and answers about her daughter, Angie, she fought so hard for in life. Rest well, Marianne, until we meet again. So once again, Marianne Chapman, I believe she was 69 years old. I think that she died of some kind of cancer that she had been fighting for a while. I do not think that when I interviewed her, what, 5 years ago, 6, 7 years ago, maybe, that she had been diagnosed at that time. I don't think so. This is something I think that happened after. And like I said, she never stopped looking for her daughter, Angie Arnell. And of course, the story Angie's husband told was that she fell off a deck and hit her head and died, and he wanted to give her a personal barrier, so he put her in a boat to take her out to some island, and then allegedly the body fell out of the boat, and he went into the water and could not find the body, allegedly. Now, I don't think there's anybody that really believes that. But he went to jail for a while. He's out as a free man, and there's nothing that I've heard from Carrie or anybody else to think that he showed up for this funeral. I don't even know if he lives in the area anymore. Carrie did tell me that she ran into some missing people, missing persons families there, and one in particular that she brought up were the parents of Jesse Ross. Remember that Jesse was from, yes, he disappeared in Chicago, Illinois, but please remember that he disappeared from the central part of the United States, the Missouri, Kansas area. And his parents knew Marianne, and so they were at the funeral, and Carrie got to meet them. I've never met Jesse's mother and father. Of course, he was the guest some years ago now, 4 or 5 years ago, when we covered Jesse's disappearance. So that's another, I keep a list of them in a database of all of the guests of Unfound who have died. I think that might be 8 or 9 guests now. Maybe, and unfortunately, maybe we're up to double digits at this time. In fact, I will check that to get an accurate number for all of you. So there you go. She was, like I said, I had not talked to her in a while, but I think Carrie captured the essence of Marianne very well. Just undaunted, limitless energy, courageous, just would not be stopped. And it's a dang shame that she was taken at such an early age of still being in her 60s. You know, I would have hoped that she could have lived for a very, very long time, getting up to my dad's age, of course, if not a lot longer. But that wasn't meant to be. So, Marianne, wherever you are, if we will not forget about Angie. I know I won't let anybody forget about her. I know a lot of people who, hopefully all you, the listeners, will not forget all about her, Angie or Marianne. And maybe one of these days we get lucky with Angie's disappearance, because I don't think anybody really believes she's in that lake. Maybe we'll get lucky. So there you go. Marty, damn, cancer is terrible. Yes, sad. What happened to her? As far as Marianne, I think died of cancer, but Angie Arnell died, disappeared. Her husband's story was that they were in the backyard and she fell backwards off of like a deck, hit her head and died. And he wanted to give her a personal barrier. So he wanted to take her out to this island in this lake. And he said that while he was in the boat taking her out there, her body fell out of this canoe or whatever it was, and he could not recover her body. That's the story. And if you believe that, I got a bridge to sell you. So there you go. Marianne Chapman. Very, very, very sad. Very sad. Let me now go to the April Wisp poll. Of course, that was the disappearance that we covered this last Friday. Her best friend at the time, Amy, was the guest, and I thought she did a fantastic job. I think she's representing April and the disappearance very well. She's well spoken, and I certainly hope Unfound's coverage can move the investigation forward. And I think Amy knows that I'm always here to help. But the April Wispall question in the discussion group was, did her disappearance have anything to do with the trial? In the discussion group, nobody thought so. And in the think tank, which if you want to be a member of the think tank, it's well worth it at patreon.com/unfound podcast. Please sign up. If you want to engage in some deep discussion about the disappearances that Unfound features every Friday, that's the way to do it. And I take that information and bring it back to the guests. You can sign up at patreon.com/unfound podcast. But in the think tank, it was pretty much the same. Nobody really believed that her disappearance had anything to do with the name we used was Andrew's trial that happened about a month after April went missing. And for me, the blog that I write there at Patreon that's behind the paywall, I really decided the same thing. Even from the beginning, this wasn't something that struck me as disappearance due to the trial. I think her disappearance had everything to do. If you want to believe that foul play occurred, you can certainly do that. If you want to believe that she ran off, you can do that. You want to believe that she was so distraught about what was going on that she committed suicide somehow and her body just hasn't been found yet. Certainly true. But if we really wanted to put together what set April up for this disappearance, I think it was a combination of three things. One, her parents being divorced and just not really seeming like April was a concern to them. Number two, not going to school and having way too much free time on her hands. I mean, it's amazing. Even adults, you have the idle rich and everything. They seem to get in a lot of trouble too. People don't have to work; they just have money and they don't have to work or anything. It's amazing how we humans, we don't have things to do with our lives, how the trouble that we can get into. And then number three, certainly, the situation that she got into with Andrew, even though the trial was, or I should say probably number three more is that her living with somebody who was not her guardian. So those three: no schooling, parents not making you seemingly hear her, even though I know her mother called, I guess, about Andrew and what he did to her, but I don't know. And then her living under the roof of somebody who really had no control over her, who had no legal responsibility for April and everything else. So it all that's kind of what set it up for something bad. It certainly, maybe I'll put it this way. It certainly raised the percentage chance, the odds that something bad would happen to April. And that's what I believe. I mean, when I believe that she ran off, started a new life, we can only hope so. That's not really the direction that I'm going, though. Let's see what everybody is. Hello. That's Angela. Angela's stories. Yeah, fishy. Good one. Raina, what's going on? Hello, Raina. How are you? Marty, I was upset I couldn't make the think tank last night. I had a lot of thoughts in this case. Well, you should have made the think tank, Marty. I know you have a lot going on, though. Marty agrees with the think tank and the discussion group. Nothing having to do with the trial. Nancy, former guest, mother of Troy. Nancy, so good to see you tonight. I know it's been a while, but everybody's seeing Nancy in the chat tonight. She is the mother of Troy Galloway, who went missing in California. This is a disappearance we covered way back in 2017. It seems like yesterday, Nancy. Good to see you. Hope you are doing well. She's making a comment there about how she got support from Marianne. Karen, good to see you. Ed, how does the closed captioning come out being that this is a live video? Well, it's through stream. It must be through StreamYard. I guess this is the program that I use, and it has nothing to do with me. It must be through StreamYard, or it could be, it must be that. It's certainly no special program that I have on my MacBook that I'm using for the show that I've used forever. I'm not sure. Yeah, I think you have to use StreamYard to get that. I think you're leaving the house without a jacket in 30-degree weather is very intriguing. Marty talking about April. Charlotte, I kind of think that her mom got law enforcement on the bar friend just to upset April, not because she really cared what April did. It pretty could be. And the closed captioning, I have to admit, I didn't even know it was going on. So there you go. But thank you for letting me know that you like it and that it works. I didn't even know that it existed. Marty says, I had to host an event for St. Patty's Day. Otherwise, I would have been there. I bet, Marty, you and St. Patrick's Day go very, very well together. So I'm not surprised. I hope it went well. It says what you say before you say it. Well, there's probably a delay on the audio somehow. So I'm not sure who you are, Facebook user, because it just says Facebook user, but there's probably some delay in what you're hearing and then reading in regard. And that's how it does it. Because if so, then I'm being really creeped out that there's somebody out there who knows what I'm going to say before I say it. I guess it's not paranoia if they're really after you. Katie, all right, Katie is here. All right, Katie, thank you. Yeah, I recognize that. I recognize your name, I think, Katie. Yeah, this must be through StreamYard. StreamYard is what I use now. I used to just use straight YouTube, but I use this program called StreamYard now, and it just gives me a few more options on how to set everything up. Little did I know that closed captioning was one of those things. I did not know that. All right, let's go to probably currently the biggest missing person story, newest missing person story that is going on, at least in the United States right now. And that is the disappearance of this young man whose name is Riley Strain. And coincidentally, he's a University of Missouri student. So we just talked about Missouri with Marianne Chapman and Angie Arnell. And here we are going to Missouri again. That was not planned. So I'm just going to read an article. In fact, there have been even recent developments today. And as you would suspect, I have a lot to say about all of this. So, the University of Missouri student who went missing after being kicked out of a Nashville bar was served only one drink before he was asked to leave country music star Luke Bryan's bar. The owner said Luke's 32 Bridge and Drink and its owner TC Restaurant Group said in a statement that Riley Strain, 22, was served one alcoholic drink and 2 waters while at the downtown Nashville bar during a trip with his fraternity for a spring formal. He was last seen on security video, I'll get to that later, on just about 10 p.m. March 8th. In the footage, he appears to sway and do a full 360-degree turn before continuing to walk. The restaurant statement said that based on our conduct standards, Strain was escorted out by security at 9:35 p.m. So it would seem to me then that he was doing something in that bar that he should not have been doing. Of course, he's over 21. It's legal for him to drink. But he must have been getting rowdy for some reason that he got escorted out. Of course, it would help to know how many people in total got escorted out of that place that night. Maybe then we could judge it. But it's certainly never a good thing when you get escorted out of any establishment. All right, so we have to remember that. It did not provide details about Strain's alleged behavior before he was removed. So he's acting up and seemingly he's only had one beer. The bar's owner said Strain was escorted out through the Broadway exit at the front of the building. A friend accompanied him down the stairs, according to the statement, but friend did not leave with Strain, instead returning upstairs to the bar. Some friends, in fact, Cherie, when she and I were talking about this a couple days ago, she brought that up. I kind of feel the same. Tennessee Alcoholic Beverage Commission Communications Director Aaron Rummage said earlier this week that the agency was investigating whether Strain was served alcohol while he was visibly intoxicated. I guess what this would then mean is that Strain was already drinking or something before he ever got to this bar. So the question is, did they go to any other places before they ended up there? Or was he, were they drinking in the car on the way there? Which of course is illegal. I think, open containers of alcohol in a car, no matter what your age, is illegal, I think, in every state. So we might be open to that. It just doesn't seem to me, and given his size, he's a big kid, 6'7" and everything, he's not going to get drunk on one drink. So there you go. The bar said in a statement that it proactively engaged in communication with TABC and will continue to do so, as well as provide any records necessary to assist in the investigation. The bar said it also provided detailed information to Nashville police in an effort to help locate the missing man. This information included all security camera footage, photos of Riley, our establishment, with detailed timestamps, transaction records, and staff accounts. When Strain left the bar, he told his friends he was going to return to his hotel. His stepfather, Chris Whitehead, told the NBC affiliate. Whitehead said in an interview on Top Story with Tom Lamos on Tuesday that Strain never made it back to the hotel. And in fact, we know that he walked in the exact opposite direction of the hotel. Security footage released by police department showed Strain crossing First Avenue North, and I did look at the map for this, to Gay Street at 9:47 p.m., which is about 0.7 miles from Luke's 32 Bridge and in the opposite direction of the Tempo Hotel. Robert Nielsen, a sergeant with Nashville Police, said Thursday that the last video police have of Strange is not true. I'm going to get to something else. It's from 9:52 p.m. when he is seen walking north between the James Robertson Parkway and Woodland Street Bridge. Yes, there is a river right there. He said that other nearby cameras did not pick up Strain's route, and the police were continuing to look for more security cameras they may have missed for more information. A search mission by ground, air, and along the riverbank near where Strain was last seen has been ongoing. Nielsen said that the department has been using boats with sonar capabilities as well as drones to look for Strain. He said the department is waiting on records from Strain's cell phone and his Apple Watch to determine where he may have gone. Nielsen said there was no sign of foul play at this point and is still missing persons investigation. Now, what that story does not include from a couple days ago is that, first of all, his ATM card was found along the banks of the river. So that's not a good sign. The second thing that popped up more recently, I think this was just today, was that he had an interaction with a police officer after leaving the bar. Now, I haven't had a chance to watch it, unfortunately, but maybe some of you have. I don't know what was said or anything, but there was an interaction, and seemingly the police officer just let him go on his way. Why was he stopped? I'm not sure. Maybe because he was stumbling around. We don't know what he was doing, but the police officer stopped him and talked to him and got him on. Must have been noteworthy because the badge cam was on. So I'm just going to read what everybody's saying before I continue. Hazel says, I've been listening to Riley's story on STS earlier today. Marty's talking about being in green. People have been roofied a lot on Broadway in Nashville, Raina says. Food for thought. I'm sure he drank quite a bit before he got to the bar, though. Yes, I think he must have been drinking before he got there, Charlotte says. Haley, Riley and the boys have been drinking before the bar where he was evicted. Tree, I'm sure he was pre-gamed. That's what we called it here. Art says, I've roofied myself. No guilt. It's preloading. That's weird. I watched the short body cam of a police officer saying hello to him today. Lisa says, like I said, I did not see it. Interesting, Hazel. I heard someone else call it pre-gut. Yeah, this is not new. I remember going back to my college days, but being that I wasn't a big drinker, didn't do such things. He wasn't stopped or stumbling, just a hello. Okay. Just watched that too. So it was nothing. He didn't stop, just walked by the cop and they exchanged hellos. Cops were there for a smash and dash. Okay, the cop was actively investigating a car break-in. Okay, so the cop was there for some other reason. So obviously for this cop, there was nothing that really raised suspicion that Riley was in distress. He was just a kid by himself. Maybe the cop can notice that he was drunk, and the cop's probably just thinking, well, at least he's not drinking and driving. I did read stories out there that maybe the homeless in the area were trying to help, that they might have sighted him in the area, maybe even the day after, or a couple days after this disappearance occurred. You know what I think of such things. Whether it's, I don't care if it's a homeless person or a person who lives in a mansion, I'm usually somewhat doubtful of these kinds of things, unless there is video or something else, something scientific that can be used to kind of back that up. You just get the feeling with this. I guess this is one of those situations where you just don't get a feeling that this is going to end very well. Of course, if this were 15 years ago, this would be a smiley face killer example, like a perfect example of that. And it really pleases me that in going to certain, reading stories and looking comment sections and going to web sleuths, that the smiley face killer phenomenon has died off quite a bit. And there's nobody that is more happy about that or happier than I am about that. Because I continue to state over and over and over, as long as we dismiss these disappearances and deaths of young people who get drunk and blame it on some third party when there is no proof of that, we're always going to have a young person drinking problem in this country. All it does is when you blame it on some roving band of killers in a van or whatever, I was looking around, when there's no proof of that, all it makes it possible, the only thing that's going to happen because of that is more young people are going to get drunk and more of them are going to disappear and die. But a lot of people have continued for that, including a couple of retired New York Police Department detectives. I've never had a chance to talk to Dr. Telesco about that yet. I should bring it up with her. But all because these people, for a lot of different reasons, they don't know how to analyze disappearances. They don't know why disappearances happen, or just because they get a lot of attention of bringing up smiley face killer. That's smiley face killer topic, and that gets them in front of a camera or a microphone. It's disgusting. It just seems to me that we have to realize something regarding all of this. That when people, this is one of those things where when getting away with something over and over and over and over convinces humans that it's safe. The fact is, it's a very, very bad idea for anybody to go out and get drunk. Now, I'm not here to bring back prohibition days or anything like that. You're not going to hear that coming out of my mouth, even though I am a teetotaler and haven't had a drop of alcohol since about 2005, and I've never been drunk and I've never had a buzz in my life, ever. But all people, 22-year-olds, 16-year-olds, 87-year-olds, you go out and you get drunk to the point that you're spinning around and you can't walk straight and you shouldn't be driving and everything else. And because you keep coming home alive day after day, however often you're doing this, that doesn't mean that it's safe. That just means you're getting lucky. And I don't mean the way we usually think of getting lucky. You're just being fortunate to get home. Because the odds say if you keep doing this, a few different things are going to happen. First of all, you might get caught with a DUI and hopefully you won't hurt anybody else. Or you'll be driving a car and hurt some other people and ruin your life. or you'll walk out of a bar by yourself and go missing. We can convince ourselves that we make these bad choices and we do it over and over and again, that there's nothing wrong with making that choice. We convince it's no different. I'd compare it to like those guys that, or women too, that do like this base jumping, or they jump off some cliff and they like have these special suits, these wing suits, and they fly and everything. Just because they get away with it time after time doesn't mean it's not dangerous. It just means death didn't happen that time. And I go back to like my drag racing days. Some of you don't know, I was a huge drag racer. Just because every time I blew down the quarter mile and got up to about 125 miles an hour in my Mustang doesn't mean it was safe. In fact, you do it because you know it's kind of not safe, because there is a thrill to it. And so when you look at Riley Strain, I, of course, hope that he's found alive tonight, tomorrow. And I hope that there's a great reunion and his family and everything else. But this is the point that has been missed for the last 15, 16 years, back when I remember the exact place where I was when I first started reading about the smiley face killer phenomenon. I remember I had moved I was renting part of a house in Las Vegas. It was on Raggedy Ann Drive. You can look it up. There is a Raggedy Ann Drive. I would live part of a house on that street. I can remember sitting at the kitchen table in that house with my laptop that I had at the time and reading that for the first time. And I for the first time, I thought, this is the biggest load of crap I've ever heard. That was like, 8 years before I ever started Unfound. But as you know, I'd been interested in disappearances for a long time. And all it has done is put off what I believe to be really a conversation that leads to action regarding what is going on with young people drinking in this country. So this is very sad. It's very sad. In addition, on top of everything else, Riley didn't have very good friends. And it should have been, easy for me to talk, but back in the day, I was the sober guy. I used to go to all the places that my friends who drank used to go. I would drive them there, and I would drive them home, and I would make sure they didn't get any fights. It's just the kind of guy I am. I would make sure that they didn't start hitting on other men's girlfriends and things like that. That was my job. I could still have a great time and everything else. And they all really respected that they had somebody who was looking out for them. But in this kind of situation, what if one of my friends would have gotten kicked out of a bar and said, yeah, I'm walking back to the hotel? What would I have done? Well, what if all your rest of your friends, I guess my knee-jerk reaction is that Riley Strain didn't have very good friends. You would have thought that at least one of them could have taken one for the team and said, our buddy's leaving here. He's going to be by himself. You know what? Let's make sure he's not alone, and I'll go with him. You would think. But nope. So, this is just, I think, unfortunately, I'm not here to make everybody be a downer and be negative or anything, but this just sounds like one more situation with misadventure. Drunk person walking along the street. The water's right there. He says he's going to the hotel, but he's going in the opposite direction. So let's see what everybody is saying. Yeah, and I know that, yes, as I already see, yeah, they've been doing. They found a body in Nashville in the river, but they said it was a woman. I remember it really was a woman. There have been so many cases of bodies being misidentified. His friends are awful. Do better, Cherie says. Charlie tripped and it looked like he fell and hit his head, so he could have gotten head injury. Very possible. They have found 2 bodies. Neither is Riley. Hazel commentary by his cousin and family friend said it appeared he had acted undrunk as he passed the cop. Yeah, maybe he didn't want to get in trouble. Yes, he looked drunk to me in some of the videos. Charlotte, Cherie, so true. He did hit his head on a pole in the street, which may have added to it. So head hitting, once again, adding insult to, no pun intended, insult to injury. Very true. Can you only push your luck for so long, Marty says. Hazer, you're right, sure. At least one pal should have gone with him. Truth. What year Mustang did I have? A 1990 Mustang GT. With a supercharger and other things that used to do 10.9s in the quarter mile. Not to be provocative, but I need to defend the friends. When a guy gets launched from a bar, it's not like the staff informs the friends. Well, that's true, Rockford, but they might wonder where their buddy went. Where did he go? We got to go look for him and everything. And it doesn't seem that anybody really knew he was missing till they went back to the hotel and he wasn't there. Like I said, it's been over 30 years since I've ever had to deal with something like this. So I can't really remember a specific circumstance where this might have happened. I don't remember any of my friends ever getting kicked out of a bar or anything. Maybe thanks to me. But, you know, in my 20s, I had a lot of tipsy nights out in the town. Look at you, Hazel. Lisa, I'm lucky nothing happened in my college. I was pretty careless. They walked from bars that wasn't safe either. Yeah, no one should have. No one should have cared enough about him to stay with him. One of his friends did know from what I saw. Cherie, Rockford, the friends claim they weren't allowed to leave, so they must have been aware in the instance. Or also, surely they knew his condition if the bar noticed. Should have triggered a response. The friends weren't allowed to leave the bar. What kind of bar is that? Hazel, me too, Lisa. Walked through. Okay, Cherie. According to the bar, a friend walked out with him but was back in. I wish we knew it was being truthful. Either way, I think we just have to believe the video. I mean, we have 2 videos. Him walking by himself and then his interaction with the cop where it seems by himself. There was nobody with him. Yeah, Lisa, people reliving their college years, I see. Thank you, Facebook user Hazel. In Riley's case, I'm sure his cousin family said his friends texted the friends in the bar across the street. Hazel, he attempted to enter the bar across the street, but they'd seen him being ejected. All right. Cherie and Charlotte, respectfully, been there many times. It's more often about positioning in the will of an intoxicated party. The friends often aren't in a position or state to react quickly. Yeah, bad friends. I don't know. That's just not, once again, I realized there was a very, very, very unique person in my college years. Yes, there were a lot of people who I went to college with who didn't drink, who were like me, but they also didn't go out either. And then there were the guys who liked to drink, even underage drinking, who would go out and do that. And I found myself in this place where I was a non-drinker, but I like to go out too. So, and I think my attitude was always, if you're going to be the sober one, you take on a certain amount of responsibility. Shri, I don't recall ever having anyone on a night out. And as mentioned before, there were a lot of those nights. I needed an Ed in my life, Lisa says. Maybe Lisa, but I'd like to think that I kept, keep in mind, I did not go to, I went to the opposite of a party school. Me and Eric, as you now know, Eric went to the same school. He'll tell you the same thing. But me and my friends, we did go over to Slippery Rock. Coincidentally, I'm wearing the shirt tonight where my dad went to school. And we went down to Pitt. Big, of course, huge Pitt atmosphere, party atmosphere. I remember us going to Bethany College a couple times for a couple parties down there. I think that's in West Virginia. We knew some people down there. But I was always the lookout. So this is very sad. But you have to remember that there are many, many, many Riley strains, both men and women, who are getting drunk and trying to walk home, and they make it, And, of course they get so drunk and they're throwing up. I'm never going to do this again. I'm so sick. I'm hungover. And then they go and end up doing it the next weekend. And fortunately, I think a lot of them, once they get out of school, change their ways. Unfortunately, some don't, and a lot of them become alcoholics. But we just have to remember that I don't want anybody out there to think that Riley Strange is this some like unique situation. The situation he was in is by thousands of kids of all ages every night. So the percentages say eventually some of them aren't going to make it home because these are bad, bad choices. And eventually the odds come around and bite you. That's the way it is. My view is the reaction times aren't the quickest or most rational in that setting, regardless of the friend quality. Also, staff not allowing patrons to leave is a tort. So, yeah, I don't get that part. I'll admit you can agree to disagree, Rockford, but I don't get that either. I don't know what that is. False imprisonment would open the bar to. I get it. I certainly true. I agree with that, Rockford. So I don't know what's going on there. I don't. Somebody's going to have to tell me why that was the situation, if that is actually true. So that is Riley Strain. I don't think there's really much more to say about it, except to say that this is how disappearances happen. We realize we covered disappearances where foul play was involved. But I think that we have to be very discerning about the ones that we label foul play and the ones that we don't, because mislabeling them allows bad things to continue to happen, especially when we could just blame it on some mysterious shadowy group or figure out there when there's no proof of that. And we just have to look at the missing person and say, I think that he or she caused her own disappearance. And I'll be honest, that given I just mentioned him about a half hour ago with Jesse Ross, or even longer ago with Marianne Chapman and Carrie meeting Jesse's parents, this is kind of what I believe happened to Jesse Ross too. And we've covered Kyle Fleischman, same thing. Same thing. The percentages, I think what happens with the public, people who don't listen to Unfound or other reputable true crime presentations, is that they think that, well, this is just, I guess it is bad luck, but just really don't understand the whole encompassing of how many thousands of, teenagers into the lower, early 20-somethings are doing this. It doesn't matter if it's a Friday or a Tuesday or whatever, and making bad decisions. I think the reason these kind of disappearances get attention like Riley's is because they think that this is some oddity. It is an oddity. It is rare. But I don't think the public goes to the next step of saying, well, the reason it happens is because of odds. And, we should be very fortunate, given all the bad choices that are being made, that there aren't more disappearances like Riley's. So, and I feel bad. I feel bad for his family. Once again, I hope he's still alive out there. But really, 10 days in, we really have to start thinking, well, what was the situation here? If he is still alive, did he really get picked up by somebody and the group left his ATM card behind? And what kind of person or group is going to be brave enough to pick up a kid who's 6'7"? It just seems very, very unlikely. And we've covered that. We talk about Shane Fell, who disappeared beside a river. Kevin Newen, who was seemingly walking home and had to go across the river. We've covered Ben Archer, although he wasn't drunk. I think there might have been other chemicals that were going on with Ben. So And as I've stated many times, these kinds of disappearances where we believe that somebody has gone into a body of water, and I realize a couple bodies have been found in that river. You know, no, and it's of course a couple of you brought up him hitting his head. Maybe then we have a Natasha Richardson situation where he hit his head and wandered off and died in the bushes somewhere due to a head injury. Certainly possible. Doesn't take much. And that's what I still believe happened to Jason Landry. So, I really didn't drink much in college. However, I've often instigated mayhem amongst my drinking friends. Look at you, Charlie. Lisa, I just read they wouldn't let the others leave until they paid their bar tabs. Well, I guess that would make sense. Hazel, yeah, there's so many cases of young drunk people, mostly guys, stumbling around between bars and disappearing. Someone paid his bar tab from what I read. Possibly Brian Schaefer, that too. Thank you, Cherie. Kathy says Jesse Ross was quite intoxicated. Charlotte, sounds like his body might be found somewhere, maybe the river. Hazel, bodies of water often involved. Tree, I think that's right, Charlotte. Yeah, right, Ed. He was very tall and thin. Seamus, great. Doesn't ring a bell, Cherie. Manchester, there are heaps of young guys gone missing and canals around the city. Yeah. And in fact, we might even think about going to your area of the earth, Hazel, over there in Ireland for Trevor Dealey, who went missing while walking home from a Christmas party where he had been doing some drinking. So there's Trevor Dealey. And yes, I would love to cover his disappearance sometime. All right. Moving on. I want to go down to, I don't have an article to read, and I realize many of you are going to be much more educated on this murder than I was. And I know my assistant Cherie really followed it very closely. I did not. But I want to talk about the murder of Jennifer Dulos and the conviction of the new woman, I guess, in her husband's life, Fotis, or Michelle Troconis, who just got convicted, even though surely she had nothing to do at the time. I'm not inclined to believe that she was actually there when Jennifer was murdered by Fotis Dulos. But we also have to remember Fotis, by the way, committed suicide. Didn't hear for some sort of hearing, and they went to his house, and here he had hooked up a vacuum. I read he hooked up a vacuum cleaner hose to the exhaust of his vehicle, piped it into his car, and that's how he committed suicide, which more than anything, I think, shows that he absolutely did kill Jennifer. Of course, Michelle Troconis was convicted without a body, and despite her surely not killing Jennifer. Now, I can't help but look at this from a disappearance point of view, of course, because Jennifer is still missing. I realized there was video or something of them putting trash bags. Like I said, I know you. Some of you know way more about this than I ever will, but I will just look at this from a disappearance point of view and what I read about Jennifer's house and what was left behind. The fact is, this disappearance was very sloppy. Given that we've had so many disappearances covered by Unfound, where we surely believe that the man in the woman's life caused their disappearance. You really start going back and looking at those cases, whether you want to pick out a Rosemary Rapp or Angela Green, you know those names, Marion Hurley over and over and over. I've said them many, many times, and there are many, many, many of them that Unfound has covered in the last 7.5 years. Rarely do we ever talk about forensics. Hardly ever. No signs of violence, no blood, no broken windows, no broken door jams, no doors left open very rarely, although we did have that in at least one of them. And rarely do we have anything like that. Whereas with Fotis killing Jennifer, there was all sorts of signs that that a murder had occurred where Jennifer lived. Also, you did, once again, you didn't have to be a forensics expert to see that. Now, the question is why? What was it? Why is it that all of these other guys who surely caused their wives' disappearances, how did they do most of their jobs without any forensics? It's just she was here one day, gone the next, and there's no proof of anything. But with Fotis, why wasn't he able to accomplish the same thing? I would say there's a couple things to think about. It very well could be that Fotis underestimated the fight that Jennifer would put up. If we're to believe that he did it and he was waiting for her when she came home, once again, my understanding of what happened, maybe he just underestimated that that maybe she was a little more skilled in fighting than he could have predicted. Very possible. Also could be that his plan just wasn't that good. Maybe this is something, although it seems that it was pre-planned, maybe this was something that it was a little more spur of the moment, which then would lead to more mistakes. I think the biggest reason that it ended up being a very sloppy job forensically, and why Fotis knew that, even though Jennifer's body had not been found, that if he went to trial, he was surely going to jail. I think the biggest reason is because the two weren't living together. He did not have control over where this happened. He could not say, he could not give the story that we hear so often that, she and I were at home and we went to bed and we got up the next day and she was gone. And I know her car was here and everything else. I don't know what to tell you. Meanwhile, he would have had a lot of time if there were anything that was broken or forensics or anything. He would have time to clean it up. The problem is that she and Fotis were separated at that time, and he had no business being in that house. And so if things didn't go the way he thought, it's not like he could just hang around and spend hours cleaning it all up while his vehicle's sitting out there down the street, and who knows some neighbor, who knows what a neighbor might see. So he had to leave the scene the way it was. Whereas in a situation like Angela Green, Jeff and she were married, but living under the same roof. Still not totally sure why he would have caused Angela's disappearance. But given that he told all those crazy stories, he surely did. But as you'll remember, it took a while for anybody to even realize that she was missing. It's a lot of time to kind of make everything neat again. Now, why that didn't allow him to come up with better stories than he came up with, that's something I'm always going to question. But I really think that if we're looking at this from a disappearance point of view, simply because Jennifer, of course, is still missing, I think the main number one reason that this was not a successful disappearance plan, and why he was surely going to be tried, whereas we have all these other men that we've talked about on Unfound who've never seen the inside of a courtroom, mainly it's because Jennifer and Fotis didn't share the same residence. I'm pretty sure that is the reason. So, but Michelle is good. She was in with the wrong man, and now she's going to jail for it. Even though, like I said, I'm inclined to believe that she was not there that day when he killed Jennifer. But she surely took part in all of the other stuff after that. Big mistake. Fotis. Thank you. Fotis is correct. Thank you. I wasn't sure about that. Let's see what's everybody saying. Alonzo Brooks is another case that comes to mind. The new Unsolved Mysteries series did a horribly biased job of covering it. Name is not that familiar, Rockford. I'll have to look that up. Fotis, thank you, Kathy. And he is guilty. Charlotte definitely killed her because of money. And I think there was like a custody dispute as well, Charlotte. Cherie says arrogance. He wasn't in good health either. He didn't want to let go of his money. Who does? When you have millions, sometimes you lose a little common sense. Could have totally been a total male chauvinistic thing. I'm smarter than all women, and no woman's gonna get over on me. That's why a lot of women disappear. Men's ego can't take the fact that women have outwitted them, whether it comes with divorce or child custody or money or anything like that. As a guy, my insight into my own gender, I think that has a lot to do with all of these guys are controlling. They don't want women to be independent. They think that they're smarter. These guys think they're smarter and everything else. So when a woman does outdo them, it hits them very, 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 very hard. And so they want revenge. I think that's something too. So that's the best insight I have on what went on there and why Fotis did not successfully pull this off. I'm inclined to believe if they had been still living together or married and maybe she had just brought up in passing, hey, I'm thinking about getting a divorce, and they were still under the same roof, and he would have decided to kill her and cause her disappearance, I think he gets away with it, to be honest with you. But being that they were separated, separate places and all that thing, it makes it so much harder to pull something like this off. Not that I'm not trying to coach people out there on how to do this, but it's something we have to analyze. If we're all into disappearances, why did all these guys over here get away with it, at least to this point, and Fotis didn't? We have to look at that. And that's my number one thing. They weren't sharing the same house. When you have 100%. Thank you, Cherie. Charlie did a terrible thing to his kids by killing their mom. Yeah. Certainly did, Charlotte, but look at Barry Morphew. Of course, a lot of people, and I know many, many people in this audience tonight, think that Barry killed Suzanne. But look, his daughters come to his defense. A lot of examples out there like that. Michelle thought she was protected by that same arrogance. No. Yep. Well, they deserve, he deserves to be dead and she deserves to be in jail. So I'm not really arguing with the outcomes either. It's just very sad that who knows where Jennifer is. You know, it seems like he planned this out, even though it doesn't seem like it was a very good plan. If it was planned out, then he certainly already had a spot in mind where he wanted to put Jennifer, maybe buried her, maybe garbage bin, maybe could he have put her in a million pieces? Don't know. Okay. Let's move on to this. Let's get back to a piece of Unfound news. I had posted this. This happened last week. I don't know if they're still digging or not. I did reach out to Christian Balke's mother to ask her about this, but she's not gotten back to me yet. Law enforcement were seen digging at the 22,300 block of 150th Street in Carroll County, where missing person Christian Balke Thompson's vehicle was thought to be burned in 2020. Carroll County Sheriff Ken Pingree said Thursday morning, so this past Thursday, that the investigation is continuing with nothing new to report. Balke Thompson of Farmville was reported missing on May 3rd of 2020. He's still listed as a missing person by the Iowa Department of Public Safety. Balke Thompson was 26 when he was reported missing. He would now be 30. The day after Balke Thompson was reported missing, a shed fire was reported on that location in Carroll County. The property is about 5 miles north of Carroll and is in the vicinity of where law enforcement were seen digging on Wednesday. Recovered from the shed fire in 2020 was thought to be the debris of a vehicle owned by Balky Thompson. Further information about the incident is being withheld until an investigation is complete. Anyone with information regarding the disappearance of Balky Thompson is asked to contact the Missing Persons Information Clearinghouse, Iowa Division of Criminal Investigation at 515-725-6036. To remind you, all of you of that disappearance and her mother, his mother being the guest. Remember, Christian and this woman that he was with, they were seen out shopping or something. And then the story is that she shows up the next day with Christian's car at this location, and there was some guy there. And it's very obvious that the two of them were trying to at least destroy some sort of something or destroy the car. Unfortunately, they set the car on fire inside a wood shed. And because of that, the whole thing caught fire and it burned down. And when the fire department showed up, somebody called it in, they found Christian's car there. He is still missing. So what happened here? A lot of different choices, I guess. It doesn't seem to me that when she showed up at that place for that other guy to torch the car, that Christian was there. So I don't think that the guy who actually burned the car had anything to do with Christian's disappearance. However, it very well could be that this woman set Christian up somehow or something. I mean, there's a reason she wanted that car burned. There's a reason. Now, what led them, 4 years later to go back to that location and start digging around? Why wasn't this done? Certainly, given that Christian's car was found on the property and burned, they would have all the probable cause to go over that entire property. That would have been no problem. Now, why are they going back 4 years later? I don't know. Maybe if Christian's mother emails me back, I'll find out. But if any of you have forgotten about what the circumstances were of Christian's disappearance, that's what they were. And then it goes along with the, I don't probably need to say this, but there was, of course, addiction going on and drugs going on and felonies going on and on and on in this particular disappearance. And the woman who brought Christian's car over there, she had some kind of connection to the guy. I don't think they were a couple or anything, but I think she just thought this is a guy she could rely on to keep his mouth shut to get rid of this car. And of course, their plan went very, very wrong. So they're digging. I got to be honest with you. I will be stunned if Christian's remains are on that property. I'm not saying he's not buried somewhere, but I just would be very surprised that he's on the property. I got to believe that his remains are somewhere else. My insight. Yes. Kathy says, children often defend the guilty parent in murders. Charlotte, I know I saw an interview with the oldest son, and he was angry with his dad. Fotis. Hazel, so sad that a parent can hurt their children so bad by disappearing the other parent. They really do the unthinkable. Yep. A lot of relationships are killers, Hazel. That's why you got to pick a good one. I don't care what kind of sexuality you have out there. You got to pick a good one. Or if you're into, whatever, other kinds of more than just two people in a relationship, whatever it may be, you got to pick good ones. You got to. Of course, I suppose anybody can turn at any time, but take your time, figure it out. Don't feel rushed. Be comfortable with being single. And I continue to believe that to this day. The best way to pick a good partner for your life is also being comfortable as a single person. So you don't feel pressured. You don't feel that anxiety. Feel like you gotta do it. Because when we feel like that in anything in life, things usually go bad. You make bad decisions. Fishing, what's going on? Good to see you. Good to see you. Kathy, yes, guilty parent, mostly thinking about himself or herself. Thank you for reminding everyone about Christian. I will let you know more when I know more. Facebook user, thank you for that. I try to keep as a close an eye as I can on these disappearances that Unfound is covered for any sort of information is all that ever pops up. That's why I do the update episodes. But it's not easy now that there are 325 of them. I'm here to tell you. But I do what I can. And I think I'm very fortunate in that, as probably you've noticed in doing this live show, for most of the disappearances, I can pretty much go through the general facts off the top of my head. And I'm still at the point where if you show me a name of a missing person, I can tell you whether Unfound has covered that disappearance or not. It hasn't gotten to that point yet. And it also helps that the way I use my files on my computer, that I see these missing people's pictures every day. So that helps as well. Hazel says I'm picking none of the at all anymore. So Hazel's single for life. All right, Hazel. I'm not going to argue with that. Me and my little pappy, almost 20-year-old cat. Look at you, Hazel, over there in the UK. All right. So if I hear anything more, if I hear back from Christian's mother, I will let you know. And Raina, I got your message with that video. I will just have to check it out after the show is over. I want to make sure that I'm not missing any. Because I'm going to answer a question now that was asked of me before the show started tonight. And let me get to it. Hold on one moment here. And you should know, somebody posted, I guess they're going to be doing an update on Brianna Maitland's disappearance. I'm going to guess it's going to be, I don't think they're going to release any new information, but I want you all to know that more than once, both myself and my assistant Emily, who you now know from the interview that I did with her, we have reached out to Brianna's family. We've never gotten any response. Certainly would love to do it. Certainly a lot of questions I have that I've tried to find on Web Sleuths and other places, even other shows, podcasts, or whatever. And it's amazing to me. I can listen to this and there's still questions in my head that nobody has asked yet. All I can tell you is, if we ever get to that point, I'll try to ask those questions. Still a lot in my mind, but there's going to be some update coming with Brianna Maitland's, but I'm guessing it's going to probably be a big nothing burger. Liz, I don't know if you're in here tonight, Liz. If not, maybe listen to this when you can. Liz asked me before the show started tonight, any guess as to what percentage of victims are stalked prior to going missing? Understanding this could be a stranger or acquaintance stalking. Hard to say. Hard to say. For example, the reason I say it's hard to say is this is a very good example. Jody Huisentruit. I'll just use an example of a disappearance that everybody knows just because it's been kind of nationally famous for a while. She claimed many weeks, if not several months before she went missing, she had filed a police report saying that she thought she was being stalked. That some sort of vehicle, I think a van or truck, was following her one day when she was jogging or something like that. The question is, was she? Just because someone says that a woman says she is being stalked doesn't mean she necessarily was. It very well could be that the van was just going slow because the driver was lost. Or it could be that the driver was following Judy because the person recognized her as being on TV, but it was completely harmless. It was like, hey, that's Jody Husentrud. She's on TV. I know her. And the person just was like, oh, look, that's pretty cool, and went along with his day. Or it could have been a woman driving the van. But Jody, in her own mind, thought she was being stalked. It just is hard to say. And the fact is, that's the only time that she ever went to the police about being stalked, and it was never really a major topic in her journal. So was she being stalked or not? Hard to say. It seems that somebody knew where she lived, but that doesn't mean she was stalked. As we all know, her address was in the phone book. My experience tells me that we haven't talked too much about stalking on Unfound. That's what my perception is. We might think about, for example, Susie Lyle. She got off the bus. She had a walk of about 200 yards, 600 feet, something like that, from the bus stop to her dorm, and something happened in that particular area. The most popular idea is that somebody who knew her, maybe her boyfriend or ex-boyfriend, depending on how you look at her, maybe his father, or of course, some people think it might have even been Israel Keys or somebody else. Somebody was there, and surely she was abducted. Does that mean she was stalked? She never talked about it. So it's very possible that, kind of cuts both ways. It very well could be that women thought they were being stalked and they weren't, and they still go missing. And it also could be that women are being stalked and they don't even know it. So how would we know? If they never wrote about it in their journal, if they never told their friends about it, then it very well may be that we've covered women who have gone missing and they were stalked, but because they never talked about it or didn't even know about it, we can't report on it. So as far as a percentage, I have to think it's not that high. Mainly because of the stat that we all know, that when women go missing, it's usually caused by men who are in their lives. And so those men shouldn't necessarily have to stalk them. A lot of those men just live right under the same roof, as I just talked about before, talking about Fotis and Jennifer. So I don't think that the percentage is very high at all. But it very well could be that the percentage, it's just hard to quantify, because it would infer that these victims knew that they were being stalked. And my impression is some women don't know that they were being stalked or didn't know they were being stalked. So there you go. You're welcome. Hazel says, I recall you saying that before about Brianna. She is one of my, can't use the word favorite, sounds glib, but I often think of her fondly with sorrow. Yeah, you know me, I don't do that, but I understand why the public gets kind of, there's just certain disappearances. I mean, we're still looking into the scientific reasons for that. It just seems like some disappearances stick more with people than others. And I get it. I mean, I know about Brianna Maitland's disappearance, and I understand a lot of people know about it. A lot has been written about it, videoed about it, recorded about it. And I think one of the main reasons is how her car was found. I think that's the main thing regarding her disappearance, is how it was backed into this barn as if wrecked, although it couldn't have been going very fast. So I think what I'm saying is Brianna Maitland had gone missing, just like walking away from her house in the middle of the night. I don't know if her disappearance is as well known as it is. But because of her car and that odd situation up against the barn and everything, then that gets a lot more attention, I think. Rockford. In the Lau case and others, the stalk, quote unquote, stalk definition gets tricky. Let's say it was the boyfriend's father. Is it really stalking or personal vendetta or both? Yeah, you want to theorize, Susie's breaking up with the kid Father gets ticked off, waits for, is it stalking or just waiting? I guess it depends. It's like like my brother, Brian, talks about dogs. You're eating and a dog is there on its hind legs, and you said you say, well, no, the dog's begging, and my brother Brian, no, the dog's not begging, the dog's just waiting. Nephew Charlie knows how brother Brian can make jokes like that. So yeah, it's tricky. It's a tricky thing to quantify, because even if you have a definition of stalking, you certainly go to the definition dictionary and find a definition, but that doesn't mean that these women knew that they were being stalked. It very well, for them, could just be they just happened to run into this guy, where really he's been following her for weeks. Hard to say. All right, let's go to, I just want to talk real quickly about the Dr. T show. Always fun, always interesting. And I think Dr. Telesco emailed me today that we will not be doing another show this semester. So we only got in 3 this semester, but we'll come back in the fall. And once again, I will figure out a way to disappear myself. So I can once again illustrate a different kind of disappearance. Maybe, even though I'm not the hiking type by any time, maybe I'm going to go on a hike in a national park. I'm sure David Polides will love that. Maybe I go missing off a cruise ship. Maybe I do that. I'll just have to come up with a scenario. We just don't know. Charlotte Ed, did you ever hear about the missing persons case of Claude and Sue Shelton, who disappeared in Corbin, Kentucky in May of 1971? Does not ring a bell, Charlotte, but if you wanted to email me something about it, I will check it out. So let's go to the story that I wanted to do last week and didn't get to it. And this is the story about the woman who got stuck in the container. Of course, this happened in Florida, of all places. A Florida mother who was reported missing by a concerned coworker was found alive in a shipping container. So when we say shipping container, one of those big ones that you see like on a cargo ship, they're all stacked up. After someone heard her banging on the locked door, police said. Marlene Lopez, 52 years old, so my age, was located Thursday afternoon trapped in a shipping container located next to a business on Cocoa Boulevard. She was last seen on Monday at her home and was reported missing Wednesday after a concerned coworker called police and said she had failed to pick up her son. During the course of the investigation, detectives were notified that the woman had been found. She had been banging on the door of the shipping container when someone heard her and unlocked the door. Tyler Sonnenberg, who owns the shipping container, told local station WKMG that he first saw Lopez walking around the area on Monday. He said he locked the container, which is used to store lawnmowers, on Tuesday afternoon, and did not hear any noise on Wednesday. Sonnenberg said he thinks Lopez walked into the unit on her own and passed out. He told the station that he was not at fault for Lopez getting stuck inside the container. Police said they are still investigating how Lopez ended up inside the container. That's the end of the story. This is another example of why disappearances can be so tough. Of course, the disappearance that I think of right off the top of my head is Daniel Villarreal. Remember, he went missing after a couple car wrecks. He ran off, and his body was eventually found in the bathroom of somebody's casita, like a pool house in their backyard. I don't know, not too far away from where his car was left. Nobody could predict that. There's no way there is any course on disappearances that could be taught at any level that could ever tell anybody that you're going to find somebody like that. And the fact is, had the woman, I guess she must have been an older woman, a mother who asked her son to come over. She wanted to do something. Can you fix this or whatever? He goes back. The door's locked. There's no key. He takes the door off the hinges. There's Daniel Villarreal dead inside this little building there. Nobody could have predicted that. I mean, I predicted that there was no foul play, and I predicted that he would probably be found in the area or something like that. Maybe he could still be alive, maybe, but nobody could predict that. So this is kind of the same situation. Now, to my knowledge, I don't know if there was ever figured out a cause of death of Daniel. He was in there for quite a while. And, of course, the problem is that if you go back to that episode with his mother, of course, his mother was thinking that he was murdered, and she was suspecting these people who were across the street did something to Daniel. Maybe some of you, that's all ringing a bell now. So this is how this maybe happens. And here's what I can tell you for sure. This woman is very, very lucky that she wasn't in there for a few days, because guess what? The inside of those containers get hot. And it is Florida. It doesn't take too much to get dehydrated inside one of those things. And let's say that guy went on a vacation. This guy who, I don't know, make up something. If he's gone for a couple weeks, they're going to still be looking for her, and she surely would have died inside that container. And if we really, really want to get, extravagant with this, provocative with this, what happens if that guy would have died? Maybe he's in a car wreck or something, and nobody ever goes and looks in that container. She could have been missing for weeks, years. This is why disappearances are so difficult. I'm going to guess that this woman already had something going on if she was wandering around and she passed out in there. What we don't know is, how close did she live to this? Did she walk a mile to get there with this? Was this down the street? I haven't checked these things. But this, I'll go back to say it again. This is a perfect example of why disappearances are so tough, because nobody could predict something like this. Well, she went missing and she got stuck in this container, and then she died, because what would we probably be thinking? Let's say if she would have been found dead in there. I think a lot of people would have been thinking somebody did something to her, threw her in there, and locked the door. Right? But we now know that's not what happened. And in fact, I'm guessing maybe the guy who owned the storage unit or this storage container, he'd be the prime suspect. And of course, he's totally innocent. Tough. This is tough, 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 tough work in trying to analyze these and get a very, really, really good handle on them, because people go off and do crazy things. And I don't know if this woman is into drugs. Was she having some sort of mental health issue? Was she drunk? She didn't pick her kid up at school. It sounds like something was going on with her. Hopefully she'll straighten her life out. Hopefully this doesn't happen again. And what I would also, and he said, the thing is, the guy said he locked the storage unit. Well, then how did she get into it? That sounds like that to me sounds like a CYA thing. Well, I don't know what to tell you. I locked it. Well, then how did she get into it? And maybe he's saying that he locked it and she was already in there passed out and he didn't see her. I guess that's possible. I mean, this storage unit's containers can be pretty big. And if she wandered in and wandered way to the back, I mean, what's the guy supposed to do? Go in there and check it every time before he locks it to make sure nobody's in there? That sounds a little too much to ask. So maybe that happened. Certainly not any sort of, I think maybe the general public, when they read the headline, they're going to think, well, she got put in that container and she was going to be shipped overseas for sex trafficking. You got to believe some people who read this thought that. This is obviously not what was going on. All right, let's see what everybody is saying here. Sheree says, I think you should go missing from a bar near a river. I will consider it. I'd really have to get in. I'd really have to get into my acting chops to really pull that off, to really, really put myself mentally in a situation like that, Sheree. Maybe I can pull that off. I will consider it. Not literally, of course not. It would be kind of funny. Hazel says, yep, and I could be his bad bar friend. I drink alone, Rockford, with nobody else. Rockford, you would be perfect for that role. Haven't you heard of this? But good to hear she's found alive. Jameson, I have no idea what that even is. Yeah, all right. So they're joking back and forth. So that's that story. Just wanted to clear that up. She was not being sex trafficked. She sounds like a woman with a very sounds like she had some problems going on, and I hope she gets them figured out, and I hope she lives a long, healthy life. Let's move on to this. Of course, flight, you have to remember, if people forget, the disappearance of Flight 370 is in the Unfound catalog. Of course, way back in the summer of 2017, I had Jeff Wise on. Hope you are all listening to his podcast, Deep Dive. It comes out every Thursday. And what's interesting to me is maybe the most popular kind of airline industry YouTube channel has finally kind of covered Flight 370. It's a channel called Mentor Pilot, Mentour, and then Pilot, Pilot. It's hosted by a 737 pilot. His name is Petter, like Peter. Is he from Sweden or the Netherlands or something like that? But he every couple weeks on a Saturday he releases videos. He has his own animation. He does the own voiceover and everything. They're really well done on plane crashes or just incidents. The planes didn't necessarily crash, but very strange flights where something went wrong. The pilots made the wrong decision. Things kind of piled up, but they still got the plane on the ground. But it was just like one thing to one thing to one thing. But he does cover some crashes where people got killed too, but does it really well. If you're into that sort of thing, you should check it out. Well, finally, this past Saturday, he gave his own interpretation of what might have happened to Flight 370. And certainly the what do we want to call the artistic value of it is very high. And he does a great job with the voiceover and everything, but he does leave at least a few things out. But if you want to check it out, I think you should. Flight 370 kind of goes in that cross between my interest in crashes and weird aviation stories and disappearances, kind of where that intersects. So you know that I'm always going to be in on that. And I've listened to every episode of Jeff's podcast so far. I think there are like 25 episodes now. And I send him some emails, just my impressions of each email. And like I think I've told you, he says I'm going to appear on there one of these days. If that doesn't happen, I'm cool with it. But I think if you go and watch the Mentor Pilot video, and if you're really, 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 really schooled on Flight 370, I think you'll see what I mean. That probably a little too many, not a lot, but some confirmation bias going on in the video. So, but everybody's giving a shot. We have to remember that we just passed, I think, the 10-year anniversary, or at least sometime this month. It's the 10-year anniversary of the disappearance. We know all of the big time search that was done when in 2015 or whenever 2016, all over a huge part of the southern Indian Ocean, nothing was found. We know that there were parts that washed upon the eastern shore of Africa. But if you're listening to Jeff Wise's podcast, and he did talk to some marine biologists, no, not George Costanza, they really raised questions because, of course, these parts had marine organisms on them. And Jeff has found more than one marine biologist to say that the way these things grew on these parts is not what you would expect if this part had been in the Indian Ocean as long as authorities think it has. So there seems to be some sort of discrepancy there regarding the organisms that were found on the parts and the parts being found. I guess what we're saying here in so many words is it very well could be that at least some of those parts were planted there. I know that's going off the Kookville and conspiracy land, but that's essentially what these marine biologists are saying. That they would expect if the parts went into the water over in the southern Indian Ocean and then floated the whole way over to Africa, which some of them started appearing like 16 months after, that the organisms on these parts should look like this, but they don't. So there you go. And that is not something, though, that comes up in the Mentor pilot coverage, but I just wanted to throw it out there. And I realize Flight 370, not for everybody, because it gets very, very technical regarding satellites and BFO and BTO, and even they introduce some new scientific study regarding something called Whisper. It gets very, very technical, way more into the science of technology and everything than we ever usually get into any other disappearance we've ever covered on Unfound. We talk about phone pings, we talk about video, but now we're talking about satellites and how they work and how the communication systems on jets. I understand it's not for everybody. So I try to keep it simple. Hazel says, I'm watching M370 deep dive every week. Good for you, Hazel. There are a lot of other pieces on it at the due to anniversary. I've been very interested in it since day one, and I've watched a lot of different programs about it. Look at you writing with programs with the MES. You are so British, Hazel. Even Jeff admits his theory sounds crazy. He does. But as with any theory is going to have to fit all the facts. And that is something that is very, very difficult to do in a very straightforward manner with Flight 370. Now, I'll tell you, not to ruin it for you, but I think you should watch it anyway. Mentor Pilot, obviously, he covered it from a standpoint that the pilot did something. Not the co-pilot, but the main pilot, the experienced pilot did something. Even though there's no proof of that. Like I said, there's a bit of confirmation bias that starts from the very time that the video starts. But I still think that they did a good job with it. But he's obviously not the host of that program. Very, very smart pilot and very schooled in aviation and jets, how they work. Comes to this, it may just be a little bit out of his strike zone. Let's just put it that way. Oh, but you got to check it out. And I still think the guy does a fantastic job, and the guy has a ton of subscribers there. So good for him. I wanted to cover this kind of a funny story. Is that I don't know how many of you follow hockey, but there's a hockey player. His name is Jaromir Jagr. I know him because he used to play for the Penguins back in the early 90s, and he played for a really, really long time, played for a bunch of different teams. Well, they here in Pittsburgh, they were going, being that I am in the Pittsburgh area right now, I can say that. Were they retiring his number or something? Well, they were having a bobblehead night for Jaromir Jagr. And the bobbleheads got stolen. I'm just going to read this story to you. It's a fantastic story. Jaromir Jagr bobblehead night will not have Jaromir Jagr bobbleheads, as the Penguins announced Thursday their shipment of the fan giveaways had been stolen. The Penguins said all fans attending the home game against the San Jose Sharks will receive a voucher that includes a one-time scannable barcode to get the bobblehead at a later date when the items are safely located or new bobbleheads are produced and available for distribution. The team learned it was the victim of cargo theft after it failed to receive the shipment of Jaromir bobblehead dolls depicting the NHL legend with his famous salute celebration as scheduled before the game. The Penguins reached out to both the manufacturer and transportation companies and alerted state and federal authorities working to locate the stolen cargo. It was determined that the theft likely occurred when the shipment arrived in California. We were shocked to be a victim of cargo theft, and we are working closely with local and federal authorities on the investigation. Penguins president of business operations, Kevin Acklin. I wonder if he's related to the guy that I went to college with. While this unfortunate incident adds to the legend of Jaromir Jagr, who will be in attendance as our guest at tonight's game, we look forward to resolving this theft and delivering the prized Jaromir Jagr bobbleheads to the rightful homes with our fans. The team said there would be no further comment. Jagr had some fun with the news later Thursday, writing on social media, "Did anybody see my bobbleheads? 18,000 of them. Actually, I got one missing, 17,999. Let me know. Thank you." The bobblehead night was part of a continuing celebration of Jagr's legacy with the Penguins, where he played for 11 seasons and won 2 Stanley Cups. His number 68 was retired in February in a full circle moment for Jagr. He used to be booed by Penguin fans as a visiting player during the rest of his NHL career, which included a stint with the rival Philadelphia Flyers. All right, so kind of a funny story. Here's what I think I know. The bobbleheads were surely not the target of the theft. I'm guessing that a person or group, these things were probably on a pallet, maybe with some other stuff, and somebody went in there, and I mean, that's a lot of bobbleheads. Probably just got caught up with whatever else this person was stealing, because you have to remember this. This is not something that you're going to be able to sell in the black market. You're not going to be able to do that. It's too unique. It's good. They're going to stand out like a sore thumb. Anybody who's going to buy one of those is going to know about this story and isn't going to want to touch it with a 10-foot pole. So I can't believe this was targeted. I got to believe that this shipment was just with other things. And it very well may be when these thieves went in, they really didn't know what they were getting. They were just going in. We're going to get whatever we can get. We'll figure it out later. And then they probably, when they saw those bobbleheads, I got to believe, I don't care who did it. I don't care what the motivation was or anything else. I don't care how hardcore criminals they are. I'm sure as soon as they saw those bobbleheads, they were like, son of a gun. Because at least a part of what they stole surely cannot be resold. It's just too high profile. So these things happen. They certainly happen. Let's see what everybody is saying here. I told Jeff you recommended it to us, and he was very happy. I know a lot of people think that Jeff is a kook. I've gotten some messages myself. In fact, more than once, I've gotten messages like, "I can't believe you had that kook Jeff Wise on your podcast." But I don't regret it. Rockford, the gentleman inventor who was able to find so many of the parts needs his own show. I'd subscribe. However, would he find them so easily while being filmed? Yes, right, Rockford. Yeah, he's a colorful chap for sure. So luckily the film crew happened to be there to documenting his findings. Yeah, reality show, Rockford. Jagr has great hair, a Pittsburgh area thing. but of course, Rockford. What do you guys have in the water there? Same goes for Lemieux. I guess Bradshaw is the exception. Well, he's actually from but he's from Louisiana. I don't know if that has anything to do with it. Rockford, Hazel, and Canny about the film crew. Yeah, what are the odds? Same as the odds in a stocked pond, methinks. Yeah. So that's going off. You don't know what Rockford and Hazel are talking about. There has been one guy who has been responsible for finding most of those parts that have turned up on the shore of Africa. And when everybody else is looking for him, they can't find him. And then he just happens to find them. And Jeff, in so many words, especially in the series they did on Netflix regarding Flight 370, I'm Jeff, in so many words, thinks that this guy may be connected to the Russians. And if you really know Jeff's theory really well, he absolutely believes that the Russians had something to do with the snatching of that plane. So there you go. Anything else? Is there anything? I got like 5 minutes, which is an awkward amount of time to have left. Oh, by the way, maybe I should just ask this. All the team episodes are done. I had a fantastic time interviewing Carrie, Emily, Eric, and Sheree. I thought they all did great. The funny thing is I think they were all nervous before being interviewed. I don't think it showed. And I think what you got to hear over the past 4 Mondays are their true personalities, the way I've known them for a while now. And I did that. I always want everybody to know that this not only is, of course, I'm biased, but not only do I want everybody to know that this is a high quality podcast, I want all of you to know that everybody is of a very high quality and character as well. It's very important, easy for me to talk about myself. But I think in me interviewing, I think you could tell by getting to know Eric and Carrie and Emily and Sheree that those are 4 people who would not be involved in something unless they really believed it was, a great production being led by somebody that they really respect. And of course, I respect all of them. And like I said, I think all of you enjoy, I think everybody enjoys getting to be behind the scenes looks at things. We all love to, get maybe the opportunity to go behind stage for a rock concert or, with DVDs, if you even get those things anymore. A lot of people like to listen to the director's commentary to kind of sound of the behind the scenes stories of how scenes were set up and everything like that. This is what I wanted to give to all of you, kind of the behind the scenes look at Unfound, while also getting to know the people who I talk the most about. Love the team episodes. I do think Sheree has a Texas accent, by the way. Do you, Rockford? Okay. I don't know if Sheree's still in there. I know she had a long day. Love them too. Good people, and that came across in spades. Thank you, Hazel. All right, let's go to this Friday. Now, you should know I've not yet done this interview yet. Supposed to be happening at noon tomorrow. But I have to tell you, this woman's been very reliable and everything, so I really believe it's going to happen. So I'm just going to tell you about it. This is the disappearance of Ashley Jones Linden, Linden. Her disappearance is on NamUs, but I do not believe it's on the Charlie Project. Coincidentally, this is a Tampa, Florida disappearance. Coincidentally, and this is thanks to Emily. She tracked down Ashley's mother, Teresa, who I will be interviewing at noon tomorrow. Unfortunately for Ashley, she has the same background as many of the people that we've featured on Unfound. Some drug issues, addiction issues, run-ins with the law issues, and bad taste in men issues, a lot of things. And at least for I guess what you would call the first half of the story, it plays out like many that we've covered. it seems like a very straightforward, the man said type of disappearance, where the man in her life, they were at this Red Roof Inn on the east side of Tampa, and he claimed that she ran off. And I don't think really that anybody believed that. But then 2 months later, and so that happens in September, but in November, somebody who knew Ashley just kind of tangentially was on a work crew in a truck cruising down a different part of Tampa, took a picture of a woman who looked homeless standing on the sidewalk with a bunch of bags and everything, took a picture of her. The picture was shown to people who really, really know Ashley well, and they believe that's Ashley. So 2 months after she ran away from this Red Roof Inn and the man in her life couldn't track her down, she's standing on this sidewalk, and this guy just happens to take a picture of her. Unfortunately, if this was Ashley, she has not been seen since. And we're getting into why that may be because of what this guy did with that picture. So you can start looking that up. Ashley Jones Linden, Linden. She went missing from Tampa, so Hillsborough County in Florida, November 17th. That is the date that the picture was taken of her, or a woman, I should say, of 2022. So a very new disappearance. And her mother, Teresa, no, not that mother, Teresa. Her mother, Teresa, is the guest. I'll be interviewing her at noon tomorrow. And by the way, Heather Grotman, you know her with the blog, and she has a podcast. She's going to be appearing in the next couple weeks. And boy, did she pick out a fantastic disappearance that she is featured on her blog for me and her to talk about. I cannot wait. So that's coming up in a couple weeks. So that's all I got. Thank you all for listening tonight. It was a spectacular show. I think I'm biased though, but I try to deliver every Monday night. I really do. I hope all of you will stay safe out there. Keep your heads on swivels. And what's everybody have that just got home from work? Hello, Carrie. I read your post in the group tonight, Carrie. Lisa, thank you for doing this live show every week. You're welcome. Makes me, all your episodes are great. Thank you. Thank you, Lisa. Everybody's getting out of here. Charlie, everybody, thank you, Rockford. You too, Jasmine. And Charlie, say hi to the boys for me. And like I said, everybody keep your heads on swivels out there. Do not be victims. Good night.